Which scene from The Boys did Amazon refuse to air? What material makes Homelander's pecs pop? And how did the special effects scene recreate an exploding body? Hi, I'm Joe, and you're watching OSSA Movies.
Hello, interweb people.
An idea so dark that Amazon said no. Though the show has been pretty faithful to the graphic novel that inspired it, showrunner Eric Kripke, the man behind Supernatural, admitted that he needed to do some tweaking to make the concept work for television. Despite this, he found the process of filming The Boys liberating, as it was the first show that he'd been involved with that matched his own somewhat dark tastes. Kripke told Collider, "I'm having a blast. It's so fun to not have restrictions on where you want a scene or joke to go. I have a filthy sense of humor, and I've always had to restrain it for network television." But this doesn't mean that Kripke got to see every shot he initially planned to make the final taping. As he explained in an interview, the bigwigs at Amazon drew the line at a scene involving Homelander doing some sexual DIY over New York City from atop the Chrysler Building. Despite the scene being shot, Amazon did not give it the green light. "Oh my god, Anthony was the best in that scene, but Amazon seemed to think it wasn't necessary. I thought it told me something about his psyche," he said. Possibly that bit of humor was a little too dark for Amazon. Location, location, location. Despite being set in New York, thanks to the wonders of technology and special effects, it was actually filmed in Toronto, Canada. Chase Crawford, who plays the Deep, explained that the first season took 5.5 months to film from May to October, wrapping up before winter. He explained, "The summertime up there is incredible, and we had a lot of fun. And the cast wasn't alone in enjoying the views. If you think that some of the places look familiar, it's probably because you've seen them before." Jonah Vogelbaum's mansion, which Homelander visits, is actually Parkwood Estate in Oshawa. It's obviously a popular filming location, as it was also used for Adam Sandler's film Billy Madison. The glass monstrosity that is the Vought headquarters building is also a well-known Toronto feature. The Roy Thompson Hall in the city's entertainment district. The building structure was digitally altered and extended to become the 7 Tower. And that shot of Times Square in the first episode? A clever lie. Billy and Huey were actually walking through a heavily CGI'd Young Dundas Square. The wonders of computer graphics, am I right? Oh Canada, we love you. You can't have a superhero without a supersuit. Behind every great superhero is an even better seamstress, and The Boys is no exception. Each superhero's outfit was carefully planned and executed, ensuring that these guys really look the part.
What, did you open at me?
Anthony Starr may prepare for his Homelander role by doing the opposite of what Superman would do, but his costume screams hero.
So here's Homelander's muscles. These have just come off of the mold. They're made out of a really soft rubber. It's a natural product. This is pretty much how all superhero suits are made.
And each character possesses their own unique costume dilemmas. For example, A-Train, the fastest man around, needs a suit that can go as fast as he can, so the aerodynamics are important.
We're having these pieces that fit on the side of him that are these rubberized pieces that sort of help him to slip through the air a little better.
Black Noir, the poor man's Black Panther, is a mercenary ninja mashup with a love of knives, which allowed the designers to play around with weapons.
It's really neat to play around with putting knives in different areas in a strategic way.
I think LJ's done a fantastic job of giving it visual interest wherever you look and also really accentuating his physicality.
Though the Deep of the comics wears an unflattering diving suit and helmet, the show wanted a hot dude in a cool suit, and the costume department obliged.
Not only are we concerned with the outside look of it all, how's it going to go on the glove to give him the flexibility so we can take it on and off? There's a lot of things to think about.
If only everyone's costumes were that practical.
Hello, Starlight.
I can't wear that.
And now, the real recipe for the show's success, the effects. Green screens versus old-fashioned action. So how do they get the boys to look so damn good? Well, apart from the actors putting in 14 or 15-hour days for the duration of filming, ouch, there are teams of special effects people to give the final product some polish and sparkle. As the showrunner explained in an interview, it was really important to us to have an incredibly high level of visual effects. I think at one point we had over 20 VFX houses doing 20 to 30 revisions of almost every shot. I think there's 1,800 to 1,900 shots in the first 8 episodes.
There's so many crazy things about what you just said.
All the enormous effects teams followed the lead of the effects supervisor and computer magician Stephen Fleet. His directive? Make it good. And how did he do that? Fleet told Screen Rant that a lot of the discussions were about how we were going to interpret the comic book for a different medium, and through that came the decision to reduce some of the blood and gore. Fans of the show will probably be surprised to hear that, given that the show has built its reputation around being bloody and gory. In fact, Jack Quaid often lamented the fact that he had to spend so much time covered in fake blood.
It sticks to your skin and your clothes, and it's fun. It's a good time. Head and Shoulders shampoo, shout out to them. They really helped get it out.
Despite this, he is the first to praise the special effects team, who seem to have the ability for creepy realism.
I gotta say, our effects team has been so good, and they've tried their best to make a lot of stuff very practical. I think I can talk about this because it's in the trailer. When I'm holding Robin's hands, they felt really real.
But it's not all special effects. Carl Urban, of Lord of the Rings fame, explained to fans at the Canada Fan Expo that showrunner Eric Kripke uses real in-camera practical effects. He would put us in a dangerous situation rather than green screens. He'd rather have us really do it and do it old school.
We had a helicopter out on set helping shoot it. That's like, we're going there. And that's what they used to do before, computer CGI stuff came along.
So let's take a look at exactly how some of our favorite scenes came to be. Safety first. So where do you start on the effects journey for such a huge show? We're doing something different from the comic books when it comes to the superpowers on the show, and had to create a large amount of our own conceptual stuff, notes Fleet. Just as no good action sequence can be complete without a car chase, no superhero flick is complete without vehicular destruction, and The Boys is no exception. From Butcher's car being unceremoniously driven through storefronts to police cars being thrown around like Lego, the writers seem to have a problem with cars staying unscathed. And if that's not enough, we have the added complication of another layer entering the game, Round 2, Car versus Person. Oof, that's gonna leave a mark. Homelander is bringing Psycho back. The leader of the Seven is as impressive as he is mentally unstable, and the special effects that make this possible are just as epic. For starters, he can fly. When the effects team isn't using avatars of Homelander flying, they're relying on some clever editing and CG. According to Fleet, for fast landings, we have developed a technique where Anthony would jump up and down in a cool superhero way, and then we would do a digital double that blends into him of Homelander crash landing. Another challenging aspect to film was Homelander's next-level strength. This guy obviously doesn't skip arm day at the gym. To perfect this awesome shot, Fleet explains that the shooter was on a wire, so after he is thrown, the effects team added a digital double which hits the car. Homelander's other Superman-like ability, Laser Eyes, is heavily reliant on visual editing. Fleet explains that any scenes with lasers were perfected by filming the lens flares made by real lasers, so despite the computer generation, it's all based on physics. Time for the gloves to come off. And speaking of physics, the crew had to do some research before they filmed A-Train's speedy scenes. For research, Fleet embraced his inner ballistics nerd. For A-Train, I looked at a lot of slow-motion stuff of speeding bullets and how they affect the air and move things around them. Given the premise of the show, good soups fighting the bad ones, it's no surprise that The Boys has had some pretty amazing fight scenes in every way you could imagine. When Starlight fights, it's a lighting show. To nail the shot, the team filmed an external camera flash at 1,000 frames per second. Fleet admitted, "What's crazy is that you only get 8 frames out of it, but I study the shape and cadence of how the light flashes and folds out." But what about when they need to film a fight scene with a guy you can't see? When Collider asked Carl Urban about Butcher's fight scene with the invisible translucent, the actor admitted that it was a crazy experience to film. I'm very grateful that the government authorities didn't see me fighting nothing because I would have been incarcerated and in a mental institution. That had to look absolutely bizarre. Urban admits that fight scenes are like dances, a choreographed interaction between two partners. So what happens when you remove half of the participants? According to the actor, to be suddenly doing that dance without a partner makes it 100 times more difficult. It was probably one of the more difficult things that I had to do in the show. Fly away, Robin. But which scene was the most challenging to film? According to Fleet, the most difficult shot of all was Robin's death because we had to figure out what a body looks like when it's atomized at 500 frames per second. We've got to agree that's a pretty valid point. As Fleet also pointed out, despite intentions to keep the shot as practical as possible, ultimately it went full CG as there was too much art direction and specificity for that amount of time for the practical blood to work out. The perfect background. But it's not just scenes with fighting and stunts that require some special effects. The sheer volume of blood, gore, and ass-kicking that takes place throughout The Boys means that the team have become experts at recreating organs and body parts. Rodeo FX, another effects company involved in the filming, explained that, with the help of composting and practical shots involving veal brains, we were able to create an intimate body sequence that is sure to stand out among viewers. Though there's no denying that these shots are pretty cool, they're also likely to cause uproar among the vegans.
That was diabolical!
The next chapter. Special effects alone do not make a show, but they do go a long way in helping create the perfect feel. And thankfully, Kripke has promised that the upcoming second season will be even better. I believe in the show beyond the visual effects, but I love the story and the world we've built. The visual effects in terms of scope and scale are a lot bigger in Season 2. But that's not all we have to look forward to in the next installment. Season 2 will also be released alongside a short film called Butcher, which gives some insight into his backstory. But be warned, the show will reference the short film, so make sure you watch it or you may not be able to connect all the dots. Do you have any predictions for the second season of The Boys? Let us know, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content!